Hello, welcome back. I hope you guys had a great break. Yeah, we're just gonna keep going with more of the same. We're gonna be doing some more linear equations, which means, slope and y-intercepts. So nothing you haven't seen before, just a little bit different take on the same subject. You got this. Let's see what's in store today. All right, so we are going to find the equation. Remember, anytime we are finding the equation, we can use this nifty trick, which is fill in the blanks. So y equals blank, x plus blank. Whenever we have to find an equation, we can totally use this. So more of the same. And it has a slope of -2/5. So we know it goes down from left to right. And it also goes through the point -10(8). So what does that mean? Let's figure it out. Let's use a graph to figure it out. All right. So the point -10(8). Remember, the first part of the point is the x, and the second part of the point is the y. And so remember, the x-axis of any graph goes left to right, and the y-axis of any graph goes up and down. And so if we're trying to figure out where -10(8) is, we just need to find -10 on the x, which is over here, and then we need to find 8 on the y, which is here, and we need to find where those two spots meet. So -10, -8, we go left to -10 and up to +8. There's our first point. We're almost done. Not really. There's a few more steps. So we know that the line is going to go through this point, but any line could go through this point. We could have a line that goes like this. We could have a line that goes like this. We could have a line that goes like this. It could be any line. How do we know which line it is? All right. Well, let's take a look. It says that our slope is -2/5. And so the slope tells us, for one thing, that we are going to have a negative slope. So we know it's going to go downwards. So since we know that it's going to be going downwards, we know our slope triangle needs to have a rise that goes down. So starting from here, we know that our slope triangle is going to have a rise of -2, kind of big there. Going to have a rise of -2. Let me try one more time. There is our rise of -2, which means that our rise is going to go down. And then we always think about our run as positive whenever possible. And so we're going to go to the right 5. All right, let's see what happens. Let's make our slope triangle. We know that the slope triangle needs to go down 2, and it needs to go to the right 5. And so we're going to go over to the right 5, and that's where we're going to put our second point. So our first point was here, and our second point is there. Now, remember, I saw a lot of people making mistakes on our last exam. We want to connect those 2 points to remind us where our line belongs. All right. Now, remember, our slope triangle repeats itself. Something that I did that I thought was really cool with some students was we were able to do this cool kind of cheat where we put the same slope triangle over and over using Notability. And I know that, there are a lot of things about online learning that are not fun, but one of the fun things is that we have Notability, and we can do some kind of silly little tricks that help us create a line without having to do a lot of the work. And also, I feel like that ability to understand that the slope triangle repeats itself over and over again in a pattern is a really, really cool understanding of linear functions, because that's kind of the definition of linear functions, is that it repeats. Okay, so what did the question ask? The question asks, what's the equation? So drawing a picture is great, but the equation is the end of our story. It's the goal. So we know that the slope is already -2 over 5, or -2/5. So that we can just rewrite here. Great, so we're done with that part. It was given to us in the question. Now for the second part, we need to figure out what is our B value. Remember, B stands for y-intercept. And so the y-intercept is where the graph crosses over the y-axis. We talked about that at the beginning when we said y is the up and down axis. So we can see here that our number for B is 4, and we've talked about that a lot. So we put the number 4 here, and we're basically done. I just want to make sure that we know how to put our answer into Schoology when we're answering our question at the end. So let's get rid of this. When you put your answer into Schoology, make sure that you are writing it correctly so that you get your answer right. You're going to say y equals -2/5 x plus 4. And that's it. All right, let's get started on the second question. Second question, we're going to go a little faster. We're going to learn a little bit more, but nothing that you can't handle. You guys got this. We've been through linear functions a few times, and you're going to do great. Okay, so find the equation. Stop right there. Find the equation. Remember, whenever you see this, when we're dealing with linear functions, you know that you can always go y equals blank x plus blank. It is a great strategy so that you can get your brain ready for what your answer is going to look like at the end. I know in mathematics, it's easy to read a question, get lost in the details, and not answer it fully. So whenever you see find the equation, just immediately write y equals blank x plus blank. That way, you'll be ready at the end. Okay, so it has a slope of 4. Two things here. So your 4 is your slope. And so you know that the slope goes in front of the x. So you're going to put a 4 in front of the x right there. Half your question is already done. So the other thing that we need to talk about here is that 4 is a whole number. It has a rise, but no run. That's when we need to remember that there's a secret 1 underneath every single number, and it especially helps us with slope because now we can make our slope triangle, which is going to be a very thin slope triangle, but still slope triangle nonetheless. All right, and it goes through the point -2, -9. So don't forget, the first number of these is the x. The second number is the 9. So the x is -2. And the y is -9. So you go down to the -9 on the y. And where those two grids meet is our point. Now, we need to make our slope triangle. To make our slope triangle, we are going to remember that this is a positive slope. So we know it needs to go upwards like that from left to right. Also, remember 4 is the rise, 1 is the run. So we're going to go up 4 from that point. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1 to the right here. And if it's helpful for you, you can draw a slope triangle. It's very, very, very helpful to also draw your line right away. I've seen a lot of people, like I said, make mistakes on their test because they did not draw their line right away and then they forgot where that triangle is supposed to go. All right, so I'm going to copy paste because I think this is really fun. Also, I'm a math teacher, so don't take into consideration that I think this is fun, right? I think things that are a little strange are fun. All right, so here's another triangle. Here's another triangle. And the question did not ask us to graph, right? So we don't really actually have to put every single point on the graph. All we need to know really is where is the B value? Where is the y-intercept? Well, we can see after only our second slope triangle that the line is going to run into the y-axis at -1. So therefore, B equals -1. And so therefore, here is our -1. Also, let me help you. Remember, we want to simplify everything as much as possible. So in order to put your answer into Schoology correctly and get the answer right, you're going to want to write y equals 4x, and then you want to write -1, not plus -1, although both are technically correct. -1 is more simplified, therefore it is more correct. All right, you guys, go ahead and try the next 2 questions on your own. I'll be back in a second, and we will do 2 more examples together. I hope you had fun. Let's keep going. Remember, we got to give you the password. So the password is Catherine, and you'll see in the next video why Catherine is the first password. The next one is related to this Catherine person. All right, so let's keep going. Find the equation. Remember, whenever you see that in linear functions, you want to write y equals blank x plus blank. All right, and then we know that the slope is 5/4 because it tells us. So we're going to put that 5/4 in the equation right away because otherwise we might forget. And now all we need to do is search for the B. So looking at 8,3, that's our point. We put that point right here. And let's think about this. So our slope is positive. And when we have a positive slope, it means the line is going to be going in that direction. So in order to find our B value, we need to go backwards, right? Make our slope triangle backwards in order to see where it hits the y-axis. And so since we have a rise of 5 and a run of 4, I'm going to need to go down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, I don't really like doing my slope triangles that way. I can always recount to make sure I'm doing it right. And then the run is 4, so I need to go to the right or to the left 4 and put a point there. And then there is my slope triangle. Now again, it's very easy to check to see if you made a mistake. Maybe you would like to go 1, that's a very big highlighter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I got the rise correct. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I got the run correct. So that's a good way to check your answer to make sure you got your slope correct. And then you can copy and paste that same triangle. Wow, how cool is technology? And you can see here that our B value is going to be -7 because that's where it hits the y-axis. That's why we call it a y-intercept. So this is a -7 there. Make sure if you have an answer like this, you put your answer into Schoology 5/4 x and then -7, not plus -7. Let's do one more together like that. So here we have 6, -10. There's our point there. As you can see, it's find the equation. So y equals blank x plus blank. We have our slope is negative. So we know that the slope is going to be going down and to the right. So that means we need to make our slope triangle backwards in order to retrace our steps and find the B. All right, so our slope triangle has a rise of 1 and a run of 2. So here we go. We have a rise of 1 and a run of 2. Rise of 1, run of 2. Notice that you don't need to copy paste to do this. You can just find your slope that way, and you can see that we run into the y-intercept, which is the B value at -7. So it's going to be -1/2 x plus -7, or you can write that as minus 7.